Welcome back. President Trump is warning countries against backing away from any recently negotiated trade deals following the Supreme Court's ruling against his emergency tariffs. The president, writing on Truth Social, any country that tries to, quote, play games will face even higher tariffs than the ones previously agreed upon. Senate Democrats, meanwhile, are introducing legislation which will require the Trump administration to refund up to $175 billion they claim was unlawfully collected. House Speaker Mike Johnson is warning that Congress is unlikely to find consensus on codifying the president's tariff agenda into law. Joining me now is Missouri Congressman Mark Alford. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. A lot to get to this morning. Your thoughts on all of that?
Well, look, I think President Trump has been successful, even though the Supreme Court shot down his tariff strategy. Yeah. It is a strategy that has worked so far, bringing more than $137 billion into the state treasury, but also bringing important trade deals, trillions of dollars of investments from foreign countries into the United States of America. And the prices have largely been absorbed by the retailers. I don't think a lot of the cost has been passed on to the consumer. Consumer confidence is there. We'll see what happens with this money. The trade courts will have to decide how and if that money will be returned. And, of course, Congress, you know, I know what Speaker Johnson said. I don't know what role that Congress is going to play going forward. We'll look to leadership for that on how some of these tariff trade deals are negotiated. I do know this, that President Trump, it is the art of the deal. I think he's proved once again that he is a master of that. The 15% across-the-board tariffs are going to bring in, as Scott Besson has said on your show earlier this week, that the same amount of revenue is going to be brought in. This is going to continue to balance trade. We've gotten ripped off for far too long in America. It's time to set things straight.
Yeah, well, here's the Secretary with me this week, as you just referred to. Here's Treasury Secretary Besson. Watch. With this change from SCOTUS on the emergency tariffs, would the president be open to putting tariff legal situation in a reconciliation package? Is that on the table now once again?
Maria, it could be on the table, but again, we do not need the administration, the president does not need Congress to move the tariff revenue back up. The president ran and received won the popular vote, won the swing states, won an electoral landslide, and he is fulfilling his mandate to the American people to bring back manufacturing and stop the U.S. from being ripped off by our trading partners. And he used IEEPA for a year and pushed down tariff barriers, non-tariff trade barriers, unfair subsidies, and the trading partners are going to stick with these great deals.
So, Congressman, Section 122, which is one of the authorities that the president has used to reinstate new tariffs, that will be live for 150 days. And after those 150 days, Congress has to vote to sustain the tariff. The timing is hard to believe because it lines up with the Friday of the start of the 38-day congressional August recess. How will you vote?
Well, look, I think one of the things that we're looking at is in the reconciliation package, a second reconciliation. We've been talking with leadership about this from the Republican Study Committee. I'm the chair of the Communications Task Force on that, and we have a plan to finish some of the unfinished business we did not get through with the one big, beautiful bill. This could certainly be a part of that. If it does go that route, I would certainly be in favor of a second reconciliation package to try to right the ship when it comes to tariffs and make it long-lasting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the Department of Homeland Security has suspended global entry and airport courtesy escorts for members of Congress. So the Democrats are feeling an impact here as the shutdown stretches into a second week. The TSA paychecks, pre-check will remain operational for now. But Republicans are hoping the momentum from the President's State of the Union address tonight could restart talks. What are you expecting?
Well, look, I'm expecting a note of optimism and hope from the president on the wins that he has had. Maria, as I've said before, this is the stupidest shutdown in U.S. history. We had the longest one back in November because of Chuck Schumer and his incompetence and his fear of being primaried. And now we have ICE that's completely funded, as you know, through the One Big Beautiful Bill for 4 years. And the Democrats are insistent on shutting down the government, shutting out not just ICE, in their opinion, although ICE is funded And we've secured money for body cameras in the bill that we sent over them and added training. So a lot of the things that they want are already taken care of when it comes to, in their words, reforming ICE or improving how they operate. What they're also doing damage to, though, is FEMA. They're doing damage to TSA. They're doing damage to our cybersecurity protection here in America. And they're doing damage to our Secret Service, needed more now than ever when it looks like another threat on the president's life was carried out over the weekend at Mar-a-Lago. It's the stupidest shutdown in U.S. history, and we've got to come to some common sense. I think after they do their little antics on the House floor tonight, maybe they will come to their senses and end this Democrat shutdown.
Well, you've got the Democrat response after the President's State of the Union, and then you've got your colleague, Mr. Padilla, doing a response in Spanish. So who is he speaking to?
Well, look, I think we all realize,
just so stick it to you with the deportation of people who are not American citizens in the country illegally?
Maria, you listen to the average Hispanic American, and they don't like illegal aliens being here either. Now, could ICE do a little bit different job in how they're deporting? Look, they've already, with the self-deportations and the job that Tom Homan and Kristi Noem have done in deportation, repatriation, it's more than 2.5 million illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Come here, get here the right way, and join the fabric of America. Don't rip apart the fabric of America. And I think that's one of the messages that Mr. Padilla will be getting to the Hispanic population, those Spanish speakers in America tonight.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that then, because I think you're right. The Spanish-speaking portion of America wants it done legally. They went through the trouble of ensuring that they did it legal. They don't want people jumping the line. I totally get that. But I'll tell you, this shutdown of DHS has effectively stalled a Senate vote on the Save America Act, the legislation which requires proof of citizenship to vote. I spoke with Senator Mike Lee about it, and, we were expecting a talking filibuster so that we could actually hear which specific Democrats are so against proving that you're a citizenship before you vote. Here's what he said. Watch this.
I think those Democrats that don't love America.
To take and do a talking filibuster this upcoming week to debate the SAVE Act on the floor?
With a bill this popular, we really owe it to the American people when we consider it to make any senators wishing to filibuster to actually speak. They shouldn't be able to filibuster while they're napping. They shouldn't be able to filibuster while they're at the Munich Security Conference. Filibuster in this circumstance should require them to go to the Senate floor, seek recognition, and start speaking until they are no longer able. That's how we ought to get this thing passed, and I think we need to. As far as the timing of it, that's going to be complicated a little bit by the fact that Democrats shut down the Department of Homeland Security and then left for the Munich Security Conference. It's difficult to imagine a scenario in which the Senate proceeds to a measure intending and hoping, as I hope it will, to enforce the talking filibuster, meaning to require any senator wishing to filibuster to speak. That could take some time. And I think there are reasons why we'll have to get the Department of Homeland Security funded before we can begin that effort.
So that was quite effective, Congressman. I know you passed it in the House, but you're not going to be able to see any movement until DHS opens up, right?
Well, this is so ridiculous, Maria. It is time to end the filibuster in the U.S. Senate as we know it now, at least for this issue. This is a 90% issue almost that Americans, most Republicans and some Democrats agree on. Election integrity is paramount for the survival of our republic. We've got to make sure that only those U.S. citizens are voting in U.S. elections. And I'm from the Show Me state. And if you come to the polls, you better show me your ID that's government issued before you cast your ballot.
Yeah, I understand, Congressman. It's great to see you this morning. And we'll be watching tonight the president's highly anticipated State of the Union there at the Capitol. Thank you, Mark Alford. Good to see you. We'll be right back. Stay with us.